After a season like 2025, the Rangers have a lot of questions to answer.
You are Locked On Rangers, your daily Texas Rangers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
You are locked onto the Texas Rangers, the first and best daily Rangers podcast. I'm Bryce Patrick, a cripplingly addicted Texas Rangers fan, covered this team for 12 seasons, including all 7 as the founder and host of this podcast. Thank you all so much for making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. If not already, you can follow me on Twitter at Bryce Patrick. You can follow the show at Locked On Rangers. Hit subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform and on YouTube, where the best way you can help grow the show is to comment nearly any single thing below. Now, on today's show, I'm talking about 5 burning questions the Rangers have to answer this offseason. Including, but no longer talking about what they're going to do at manager. Before we get into all that today, it's brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. If your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. Download the FanDuel app today. Now, the number one question on these burning questions was going to be, who do they get to replace Bruce Bochy? That was solved, less than a week after they both decided, okay, this is no longer working. We're going to go in a different direction, bringing in Skip Schumacher. I talked about that on Sunday's show, which, as I am recording this now on Monday, was the most recent show that I recorded because I will be out of town all week. Hopefully, there won't be any more breaking news happening this week while I am out of town. But if there is, well, I'll be back late Saturday night, probably Sunday would be the earliest I get any episode out about any new news. But Skip Schumacher's got a tough task ahead of him, not only succeeding Bruce Bochy. I talked about that on Sunday's show about why that is going to be so difficult, but why I think he is the right man for this job. But it's not just Skip Schumacher who has a whole lot of questions to answer heading into this season. It is Chris Young. It is a lot of members of this coaching staff. It's basically every hitter on this team. They've got some things to answer for because last year did not go how this team expected. It did not go well, and it did not go wrong in the way that anybody expected. So let's start with the number one burning question, because this is the one that is going to burn the brightest of all of these questions. Is what are the Rangers going to do with underperforming veterans? Now, there were 3 or 4 different bounce back candidates last year of guys who did not have a great 2024 season. There were quite a few of them that didn't have particularly great 2024 seasons, but the Rangers were counting on some of them to bounce back. And Chris Young, I think, did a good job of supplementing that offense, of saying, okay, there were a lot of guys who had career best years, probably the best seasons of their lives, or they ever will have in 2023. They were down a little bit in 2024, but if they get back to the average version of themselves in 2025, then this team will be, in playoff contention, should be a good team. And that was even before anybody of us knew that the Rangers had the best starting rotation in all of baseball. And that didn't happen for basically any of these bounce back candidates. Marcus Semien had another down year, maybe even a worse offensive year, and got injured for the first time in what feels like millennia. Jonah Heim was, again, awful offensively, a 602 OPS this year. Josh Young did not have the luxury of saying, oh, I had a broken wrist, and that just kind of derailed my entire season. And he was, about an average big leaguer, not anywhere close to the all-star version that we saw for the first half of his rookie year, but just kind of fine, at times really bad, at times pretty good, but not anywhere near the sustained level of success that he had in 2023 as a rookie. Adolis Garcia was better offensively this past year than last year. Defensively, he was great, but offensively, not the kind of performance that they were looking for. Only 135 games out of him, fewer than 20 home runs for what feels like the first time as an everyday big leaguer. I think that actually is the first time as an everyday big leaguer. Yeah. Started as an everyday big leaguer in 2021, had 31 homers then, 27 homers in 2022, 39, a career high in 2023. Even last year, when he was pretty darn bad offensively and much worse defensively, he still had 25 home runs and 85 runs driven in last year, 2024. This year was a 2.7 WAR player because his defense was outstanding, but the offense was bad. It was not what the Rangers were looking for. And so the Rangers have a question of, what are they going to do at right field. It's not like they have a whole lot of internal candidates busting down the door. I'll talk more about the little rascals a little bit later on in this show, but there's not some savior top prospect right on the doorstep. I mean, Sebastian Walcott is the Rangers' top prospect. He has not played the outfield at all in his minor league career. Heck, I don't know when the last time he played outfield was. I don't know if he's even done drills in the outfield. There was a lot of talk before the season in 2025 at Frisco Media Day of, okay, what position is Sebastian Walcott going to play? Because right now, he's a shortstop. He's also played some third base. And at the time, the Rangers thought, okay, we've got some entrenched guys. We definitely got an entrenched guy at shortstop. He's not moving anywhere because Corey Seager is fantastic defensively, offensively. Man, if Sebastian Walcott could hit that kind of a ceiling, that'd be great. I don't know if he will because that is a pretty lofty ceiling. But Josh Young, the third base position is a little bit more open. And the long-term home always kind of seemed like right field because his timeline, Sebastian Walcott's, that is, for getting up to the big leagues and being an impact big leaguer and helping this offense was thought to be, 2025 seemed very aggressive. That's what Sebastian Walcott wanted, but he didn't even make it to AAA as a teenager. So maybe at some point in the end of 2026, we start to see him knock on the door, or if he crushes it at AAA next year, which is where I imagine he starts the year. He's going to have some time in the Arizona Fall League this year because the middle parts of the season weren't particularly great. He ended on a good note, but he's not close. All that to say, he's not knocking on that door, a clear improvement on Adolis Garcia. Heck, I'd say definitely not a clear improvement there. And what the Rangers do at third base. I mean, Josh Smith has been fantastic in the first halves of the last 2 years, but in the second half, offensively, he's been basically unplayable. And that's not what you're looking for 2-3 months of your third baseman. You would like to have some level of offense there. And Jonah Heim, what are the Rangers going to do? There's definitely no catcher out there that the Rangers could just make some massive immediate upgrade. That's not really a thing. I mean, Kyle Higashioka was pretty darn good in the second half of last year. The first 2-3 months were terrible, but once he took that road trip to San Diego, life got a lot better offensively for Kyle Higashioka, but still not particularly great. And so the Rangers are going to have some tough choices to make. With Marcus Semien, I don't think there is a choice there to be made. I think Marcus Semien is going to be the everyday second baseman. He's making $25 million a year, and next year he's going to be 35 years old. And you can't just ship off guys that are making $25 million a year that aren't what they were when they signed that contract, especially when they're in their mid-30s. Everybody else saw that. Everybody else has seen what Marcus Semien has done for the past 2 years. You can't just be like, oh, yeah, remember when Marcus Semien did what he did in 2023? Don't look at what he's done the last 2 years and project that out to moving forward. No one's going to just take on bad contracts. That's not how this works. And even if they did, who's going to replace him? Who's going to replace him? You have got to have someone step in and replace him and be better than the guy that everybody's mad at for being bad. I mean, that's just kind of how this works. And not to mention the other veterans that the Rangers brought in to supplement this offense that was bad in 2024 as kind of a, whatever regression proof kind of a thing of bringing in Jock Peterson. This seemed like a surefire, good bat. The guy had been one of the better hitters and most consistent hitters in baseball for the last 12 years, and he was awful. They traded away Nathaniel Lowe, who was making a little bit more money than they wanted to pay their third baseman. They brought in Robert Garcia. That worked out okay, better for the Rangers than it did for the Washington Nationals. They made a trade for Jake Berger. Didn't give a whole lot up in prospect capital, but Berger was hurt and at times really, really bad this year for the Rangers. So even their contingency plans didn't quite work. And so the Rangers are going to have some tough choices to make. Adolis Garcia is probably making more than $10 million this year, and there aren't a whole lot of internal candidates just waiting, knocking down the door to come up and help this offense right now. The only one that's particularly close, and it's not at outfield, at least I hope not. It is Abimelec Ortiz, who has been hitting really, really well in AAA last year, but again, he's a first base / DH type who has been in the outfield. Not a good outfielder, but he has been playing the outfield. He hits a lot of home runs, but he also strikes out a heck of a lot at the minor league level, and that is definitely going to translate to the big league level. Could he be an impact player? I don't think impact, but better than what they've got offensively. Maybe, but that's just maybe. And that is the only guy who is particularly close to helping this offense. So if the Rangers still have underperforming veterans next year, they've already had them 2 years in a row. So something is going to have to be done. What exactly it is and how they fix it, I don't know. But this is a big, big, big question that this team needs to answer this offseason. Can we talk a little bit about this rotation? Can they do it again? And what's this bullpen going to look like in another year where Chris Young has to replace it basically from the ground up? Talk about that and more right after this. This show is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has offers you won't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use all across the app. I'm looking a little bit at college football odds right now. My alma mater, Texas Tech, is more likely to make the college football playoff than they are to miss it right now. To make the playoff, they are at minus 184, and to miss it, they are at plus 145. You're looking at Heisman odds. Carson Beck of Miami and Dante Moore are favored right now to win it. Ty Simpson of Alabama is the second favorite at plus 750. And the top three in odds to win it all this year, Ohio State at favorite at plus 430, Oregon plus 550, and Alabama at plus 700. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. Shout out to the Everydayers making Locked On Rangers your first listen every single day. I will not be back tomorrow, but there will be a MLB squads episode recapping all that's going on in this postseason. I will be out of town, but I have pre-recorded all of this week's shows, so you have got plenty of stuff to listen to. I will be back next week on Monday, and I will be talking about the minor leagues on that Monday show. But right now, I'm talking about the burning questions I have for this offseason, heading into the 2026 season, which we will be unfortunately 3 years removed. We are now 2 years removed from the Rangers winning it all. And to get back there, they've got to answer these questions. The number 2 question the Rangers have to answer is, will the rotation do anything close to what they did this year again? This is the best rotation we've ever seen in the history of the Texas Rangers. And the Rangers had all that, and they had Marcus Semien, and they had Corey Seager, and they had a 5.5 win Wyatt Langford, and they had Jock Peterson and Josh Smith, and they brought in Rowdy Tellez, and they had all these guys who were supposed to be good at hitting, and they weren't. And with all of that best staff in the history of the Texas Rangers franchise, they went 81-81. And they're probably not going to do this again. Not to this level. Or maybe they will. Because the big questions about this rotation doing it again, it's not, wow, is that Jacob deGrom guy actually still any good? No, that was answered. And he was healthy, and he was fantastic for 5/6 of the season. Outside of that last month, fantastic. Even the last start for deGrom was really darn good. Jack Leiter, the first half, a little rocky, a little bit of rookie struggles, some moments of brilliance, and then the second half, he was just really darn good. Nathan Eovaldi, is he going to have a 1.7 ERA next year? Maybe, maybe not. Is he going to have more than 130 innings next year? I don't know. At this point, maybe you're counting on 20 to 25 starts from Eovaldi. He's going to be 36 next season. He is getting older. He has not been able to make 30 starts in a season. Only twice in his career has he made 30 or more starts in a regular season. And he's been in the big leagues for a minute, 14 seasons. Only 2 of them has he made 32 or more starts. Now, 30 or more starts, excuse me, because he made 32 back in 2021 with Boston. He made 29 with the Rangers in 170 innings in 2024. And another season where the offense let him down, and he was pretty darn good. But this year was the best we've ever seen Nathan Eovaldi, and it didn't matter. It didn't matter because he did not get to pitch in the postseason while being the best version of himself. Is this just going to be who Nathan Eovaldi is now, of just absolutely incredible, or are we going to see something more like the 3.5-ish ERA that we've seen for most of his career? Still really darn good pitcher, but the durability concerns are also there. Maybe Jacob deGrom is just going to do it again next year, have 30 starts, and maybe have less of an innings limit on himself because he was able to go across the 170 inning plateau, which was more than 10 innings. He pitched 12.2 innings more than the maximum they expected him to be able to pitch, which was 160 this year. And he did it at age 37 after missing most of the last 4 seasons. That's incredible. Jack Leiter, his progression in that second half, I think that's real. I think that he has really turned a corner and is going to be not the Rangers ace next year, not their second best pitcher, probably about their third best pitcher next year, depending on how much of this rotation they even bring back. Because some of the guys that were here, Patrick Corbin, I don't think the Rangers are going to bring back, but he did his job and then some this year, mopping up 155 innings of about league average-ish ERA. Made a little bit of a downturn in that second half, but he was exactly what the Rangers hoped he would be and a little bit more. Tyler Mahle was fantastic. I don't know if that 2.16, 2.18 ERA is legitimate. I mean, it happened. It was real, but it was only 86 innings, and he missed half the season with a shoulder injury. What kind of a deal is he going to get next year? The Rangers, I'm sure, want him back, but how much can you count on him for durability, for innings, for the amount of starts he's going to make it? And is he going to put up anything close to what he did ERA-wise last year? A lot of the numbers outside of the peripherals say absolutely not. They say, wow, how in the heck did you get a 2.18 ERA when you were striking out fewer than 7 batters per 9? You walked exactly at 3 batters per 9, and you were still giving up not a lot of hits, but enough hits. Are you going to be able to limit the home runs to an extreme degree like you did this year? Possibly. And what the heck are the Rangers going to get out of Kumar Rocker next year? That is a huge question of how many starts are they going to get from Rocker. They got 14 this year, a little bit over 60 innings this year, and most of those starts were not great. A couple of them were really darn good. Some of them were just fine. But how much are they going to get out of 26-year-old Kumar Rocker next year? And what are they getting from Latz? Are they starting Latz? Are they not starting Latz? Are they bringing back some of these guys? I mean, I don't think they're going to bring back Merrill Kelly. Was not exactly a successful time here. And what are they going to do with Jose Corniel? Is Jose Corniel going to move to the bullpen? Is he going to remain a starter? How much workload is he going to have in his first full season back from Tommy John surgery? I mean, he looked really darn good this year in both AA and less good in AAA, and for 2-ish, an inning and a third or so of his MLB debut, the only big league outing that he's had so far, he looked pretty darn good. So there are a lot of questions right now as to, what is this team in this rotation going to look like next year? And can they get anywhere close to what they did this year? Now, the number three question I have is, how much will the Little Rascals factor into the roster next season? Or I guess, how much will the Little Rascals factor into this roster next season? I don't think that any of these Little Rascals should be everyday starters next year. Maybe eventually they get to that point, but I think for next year, it's asking a lot for any of these guys to start every single day. I really like Alejandro Ozuna. I'm still borderline on if I think he is going to be a capable everyday big leaguer, 1.5, 2-ish WAR player over the course of an entire season. And I'm still not sure. I mean, he played 63 games last year and he hit 212 and had an on base at 313, and the slugging was in the 270s, the sub 600 OPS. Not great. I mean, the expected slugging was a lot higher. The expected batting average was significantly higher. He had competitive plate appearances, but there were times where just big league velocity, big league fastballs just ate him up in the zone. That's not a great sign. Defensively, pretty solid out there in any position. Center field, least so, but still fine. Still a guy with a pretty good speed tool, pretty good instincts on the base paths, a good knowledge of the strike zone, can work a long at bat, gets eaten up for sure by lefties. That's something Adolis Garcia does have as an advantage over him, is that Adolis Garcia is platoon proof. He's not just horrendous against left-handed pitching, which Ozuna has been. Maybe he'll get better. I don't know. But I don't think any of these guys should be everyday starters. I know that there was a lot of love for Cody Freeman and what he did, getting the Rangers to that point where they were, saving their season, providing that energy, providing that spark. And I think he can factor into this roster as a super utility kind of a guy, a very versatile guy, a scrappy guy, a baseball rat that every team needs on their bench, on their roster, providing that little bit of grit and energy and just spunk. But spunk is different than pure unadulterated talent. And I don't know that he's going to factor in as an impact bat that would improve this offense. Like, I don't think Cody Freeman is going to be a better hitter next year at the big league level than Marcus Semien. I really don't think that's happening. I don't think he's going to be a better hitter over the course of a full season than Josh Young or Josh Smith or, heck, Adolis Garcia next year. I don't think that's happening. And I don't think the Rangers should be counting on that happening. I don't know that they are. I definitely don't think Billy McKinney is going to factor in to next year's roster construction. I don't know that Dustin Harris is going to. Maybe Michael Hellman does, as that righty who mashes lefties, has elite speed, plays a zillion different positions, and can come in as a pinch runner, especially if you got Jock Peterson still on this team. Maybe we'll see a little bit of Michael Hellman next year. I don't know exactly what that's going to look like. I definitely think he needs to hold down a 40-man roster spot through this offseason because of what he did. He finished off the year in the last, 10 or so games that he played on a really, really cold streak offensively. Maybe teams are starting to figure him out. Maybe that was just fluky the first 20, 25 games where he had a 950 OPS. That's probably the case, but he is still a helpful, valuable player. I just don't think that any of these little rascals, there's a reason it was so unlikely that they helped this team push for a postseason spot and then ultimately fell off a cliff pretty quickly. It's because I don't think they're all that extremely talented. They are good baseball players, but I just don't think they're quite capable of being everyday big leaguers, especially at least not at this point. Coming up, we got 2 more questions these Rangers have to answer this offseason, including about this bullpen. All that and more right after this. The show is brought to you by Rugiet. Guys, you've probably heard of Viagra or Cialis. Maybe you've even tried them. But if you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet Go Long. This isn't just another ED pill. It's a total game changer for confidence. Go Long combines 2 doctor-trusted medications in one dual-action formula so you can go the distance. The effects can last up to 36 hours. That's confidence all day, all night, and even into the next day. The process is simple. You connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online, and if you're prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly to your door. If you're ready to level up your confidence in the bedroom, head to rugiet.com and use promo code LOCKEDONMLB for 15% off your first order. That's rugiet.com, promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Make sure to use our code so they know we sent you. Now, we have 2 more burning questions. Maybe there are a few more burning questions. I had one about how much of the coaching staff is retained. I nixed that one because I think a lot of the coaching staff is going to be coming back. Luis Urita was Skip Schumacher's bench coach when he was with the Miami Marlins. He was the Rangers bench coach last year. I think he's sticking around. I really, really hope Mike Maddox isn't going anywhere because Mike Maddox, that's the best pitching coach in all of baseball. I know there was a lot of love for different pitching coaches around the league, including the guy whose name is escaping me. That was Brent Strom, who was the longtime pitching coach for the Astros and then for the Diamondbacks. And then I think now he's with the Phillies. But Mike Maddox, with what he did last year, I think he's sticking around. The Rangers need him to stick around. Hitting coaches, if anything's fair game. I don't really know or care particularly what happens if those guys stick on, because I think a big change might be needed, but that's a whole different episode to talk about. Now, the number 4 question, burning question the Rangers have to answer this offseason is being honest with themselves of how much can they rely on Wyatt Langford and Evan Carter to carry the offensive load. Now, in 2024, I think this was a big mistake by Chris Young. I think he recognized it. He didn't, say it out loud. Maybe he did say it out loud. But relying a whole lot in 2024 on the improvement of this offense by adding in a rookie Wyatt Langford at the time and a still rookie eligible Evan Carter at the time, both of whom were 22 and 21 years old, was a mistake. It was a big mistake. There was a lot of fallback from this offense of guys who were exhausted and maybe peaked in 2023. Guys like Adolis Garcia, Josh Young, that was an injury situation. Marcus Semien played so much baseball in 2023. The man was absolutely gassed, and Jonah Heim just fell off a cliff. But they thought, okay, well, we still got Corey Seager. We're adding in this rookie Wyatt Langford, who we think is going to be amazing. And, at times he was, and at times he was a rookie. And Evan Carter was dealing with back issues, was dealing with not being able to hit lefties, and just all kinds of stuff that sidelined his 2024. And they headed into 2025. They kind of tried to re-up that or patch those holes by bringing in guys like Jock Peterson, bringing in Kyle Higashioka, bringing in Jake Berger. It didn't end up working all that much, but Evan Carter, when he played, he was really good. He was really good offensively, and he was hitting lefties better than he did in previous years, starting to show that progress, starting to actually get some at-bats against lefties so that he can get better, so he can see lefties and know how to hit lefties or work walks against lefties, or at least work competitive at-bats against lefties. And Langford was pretty darn good last year. Not the best player in baseball, not, elite. He wasn't an all-star. And frankly, with how he played in the first half, he probably shouldn't have been. You look at the overall season numbers, maybe he ends up, if you do the all-star voting at the end of the season, you see a guy with a 5.64 season, a 2020 season. Maybe that guy gets a nod to the all-star team. But alas, that's not how it worked. He also dealt with some oblique injuries multiple times this year. The season ended a little bit less than a week early for Wyatt Langford, dealing with the same oblique injury that kept him out earlier on in the season. He also dealt with an oblique injury in 2024, his rookie year. So he's going to work this offseason on getting that healthier, how to combat that, how to play more games next year. So he can get that 140, 150 game mark, maybe get to a 30-30 season, maybe get the OPS north of 800. It was at 70-75 last year. He was the Rangers' second best hitter behind Corey Seager. And it wasn't particularly close for that second best hitter title, but it wasn't elite. It was a next step forward. And hopefully next year he continues to make that next step forward. But Evan Carter, I think that mostly that back injury is at least mitigated. It's not going to kill his career, I don't think. He missed the last 6 weeks of the season with a freak injury, getting hit on the wrist by a pitch right when he was back and looking healthy and looking good and maybe propelling this team to a postseason spot. Alas, he faces a lefty that just dings him right in the wrong spot, sits him down on the IL, and his season was over. But how much can you rely on those guys carrying your offense and being those second and third, maybe your second and third best hitters next year? I don't know. Hopefully Jock Peterson just snaps out of whatever was happening this year. Maybe he works hard this offseason to, I don't know, whatever was ailing him this year, making him struggle this year. Hopefully he can get that fixed and he can be the Rangers' second best hitter and not put that pressure on Langford and Carter, who will be in their third full seasons in the big leagues. Or I guess with Langford, it's more of a full season. Carter, it's been more of two abbreviated seasons and then a stretch run for the ages in 2023. But how much can you rely on those guys? How much can you rely on them to be a big chunk of your offense? And even if you're relying on them to, you decide, okay, we kind of have to. Where else do you add? Again, with these questions of these veterans who have taken these steps back, of Jock, of Jake, of Josh, of all the Jays, Marcus Semien struggling, and Adolis struggling. Where do you add? There's not a whole lot of bats this offseason that you could add that guy in, that the Rangers would add that guy in and say, oh yeah, that's going to be a huge instant fix to our offense. Maybe the Rangers take a run at Cody Bellinger. That's if he opts out. I don't know. I don't think they take a run at Alex Bregman. That seems like that's going to get a bit out of their price range. Maybe they take a run at Kyle Tucker. That would be wild and wildly expensive. Heck, it might be more expensive. It's probably going to be more expensive than the Corey Seager contract. And, well, I don't know how much I trust that. I definitely trust Corey Seager to do stuff in the postseason a little bit more than I trust a Kyle Tucker to do stuff in the postseason. If you're paying a guy what will be probably $400 million in Kyle Tucker, you want him to be a postseason factor. And so far, we haven't really seen that from Kyle Tucker. So what do the Rangers do? Can they rely on Langford and Carter to take yet another step forward, to be more available than they've been in the past seasons, and get this offense back to being the dominant, mashing, ball-crushing destroyers of pitchers' souls and well-beings that they were in 2023, and not the timid, bad, can't hit for crap with runners in scoring position offense that they were in 2024 and in 2025. Now, the last question, the number 5 burning question the Rangers have to answer this offseason is how much of that bullpen is coming back? This is the thing that is incredibly difficult to do, even if you have all the money in the world. Look at the Los Angeles Dodgers of Los Angeles. I was for some reason thinking they were the Angels. No, look at the Dodgers and what their bullpen is right now. Watch the postseason. Watch what they're doing. Granted, they're shoving a lot of their starters into that bullpen because the guys who they spent a crap ton of money on this offseason in terms of that bullpen that we thought, oh my gosh, this is going to be one of the best bullpens we've ever seen. They're going to be unstoppable. They're going to have, that incredible rotation. And if it's healthy, they're going to be just unbeatable. Look at the guys who they spent all that money on. Tanner Scott this year, a 4.74 ERA. He blew so many saves this year, and he's been bad, just straight up bad. I mean, Roki Sasaki was kind of mediocre to bad as a starter. They've kind of shoved him in that bullpen. He's kind of been okay at this point. Blake Trinan had an ERA north of 5, nearly 5.5 this year. They brought in Lou Trevino. He had an ERA of 3.76. Michael Kopech, I don't know exactly what's going on with him. I mean, there's not a whole lot. And Kirby Yates, who I said, wow, that feels deeply unfair that they just get to add Kirby Yates and Tanner Scott, the 2 best relievers on this market, at least the 2 best relievers in all of baseball last year. And Yates has been hurt for a lot of this year. He pitched 41 innings. And when he did pitch, he had an ERA north of 5, nowhere near the untouchable closer the Rangers had in 2024. But you look at what the Rangers did, for the most part, that bullpen was really good. Again, closer, I think, is a different animal. And Chris Young targeted guys with a little bit less velocity, guys who maybe didn't have the best seasons the year before, but guys we knew we could count on. I mean, Chris Martin had a good season this year, although he did suffer from some injuries and he wasn't the Rangers closer. They went through 3 different closers that all had a little bit of issues closing out games. Sean Armstrong was great to finish the season. Robert Garcia was either great or terrible. He was one of the two in all of his outings. Finished the year with a sub-3 ERA and, more strikeouts than innings pitched and about 3 walks per 9. Like, solid stuff from Garcia. But again, in some of those key spots where he blew saves, it really did just sink this team. And Luke Jackson, who was the closer to start this year, who had the best ERA in save situations amongst those 3 Rangers closers, tied for 9 saves for the team lead. Maybe that goes differently, but basically everybody is a free agent at the end of this year. I mean, Sean Armstrong is a free agent. Jacob Webb, I think, is going to be a free agent. Chris Martin's a free agent. Hobie Milner is going to be a free agent. Phil Maton is going to be a free agent. Denny Coulomb, like all of these guys are free agents. So for the 3rd straight year, Chris Young's going to have to build a bullpen from scratch. But this is the thing that is incredibly hard to do, but it's it's the thing I trust him the most to do this offseason. I mean, bringing in all of these guys who, for the most part, basically outside of Luke Jackson, even Luke Jackson, I mean, he wasn't horrible this year. He had a 4.11 ERA. The strikeouts were not good. The walks were not good, but he still found ways to get outs and not get beat that badly. And it's an incredibly difficult thing to do. And Chris Young has did it much better this year. It was odd. If you combined what the bullpen had in 2024 at the back end in Yates and Robertson with the mid-level relievers that they had this year, I think this team's making the postseason. I think they're going a long, long way. But alas, that's not how it works. If he can merge both what he did in 2024, finding those back end guys and finding guys kind of not on the scrap heap, but under hidden gems, under some rocks, and combine those into a good bullpen. And who of these guys is coming back, I don't know, but I do know that I do trust, of all of these burning questions, I trust Chris Young to answer this last one the most. That's going to do it for today's show. Thank y'all so much for listening and subscribing. And until next time, don't forget to enjoy baseball.